Trysta, as the WNBA is facing a collective bargaining agreement, what is your feeling as to what should the players be fighting for right now? Where do they want to see the biggest gains?
That's a good question. I think number one, it's shared revenue. And, that's obviously different than Major League Baseball, right? But in the NBA, you're getting a percentage of basketball related income, and you have been for a long, long time in the NBA. Even when the NBA was doing poorly and wasn't that solvent, they still found ways to split the revenue even more than half and half. One of the reasons for a big labor dispute was the players were making more money percentage wise than the league was at a time where the league was very fragile, a lot more fragile, I think, than the WNBA is. So the players union wants to get to a point where they have the ability to make more when the league makes more, not make more when the league makes more and then the expenses are less. And so then they end up getting a percentage of the net revenue. Like the idea that net revenue is a word or a phrase that is getting thrown around is like just so bullshit, right? Like there is no such thing. That's considered profit, right? Like that's revenue is how much you get before you pay expenses. So don't just give me a little net in front of it and think that means the same thing. And the players know that. So the players want to get money off the top. And I think they would love, the goal was 40%. They're not going to get that. I think right now what they're asking for is 25%. 24 and a half, I think, was maybe the last offer that I saw. But the WNBA doesn't want to do that. And that, I think, is the real question, is who's going to blink first. And I think I saw that the TV rights deal is up in 2029, and that rights deal is going to explode, especially if the WNBA negotiates that on their own and doesn't package that with the NBA. And the same thing holds true for the brand sponsors that were attached to the W. A lot of times those deals got done when the NBA did those deals with Coca-Cola or Pepsi or Dasani or whoever, is that like, oh yeah, we're already the exclusive water of the WNBA. And they're like, well, we didn't do that. How? We didn't get any money from that. And they're like, oh yeah, the NBA negotiated that for you. And so the TV rights deal, if they negotiate that on their own, I think that it's slated to go from $60 million a year to like $300 million or $200 million a year. I forget the exact amount, but it explodes. And if the WNBA knows that, they're not going to want to pay, $50 million or $40 million to the WNBA players before expenses are paid out. And like, to me, if I'm the players, it's not really my responsibility if you're not a good business person and that you've made bad business deals, that you don't have direct relationships with airlines or charter companies so that we can get to our games without paying out the nose if we need to change our flights for some reason. Like, you guys need to get that side together. We're doing the business. We're doing the basketball side just fine. And the ratings and merch and attendance numbers are going up because the product on the court. You guys got to figure out that business side. And I think that's what would force them to do so. And I'd love to get your perspective too, as someone who's been, in these conversations before, is like, I think paying gross revenue out to the players would force the league to be much better business people really fast, or they'll be insolvent.
Yeah, well, Major League Baseball is about to embark upon a collective bargaining negotiation at the end of the 2026 season. You referenced it earlier. I think the NBA has done a wonderful job in solving a lot of these problems. They do genuinely share revenues with the players. The players are highly motivated to generate additional revenue on behalf of the league. And if they do, they get a cut of that. And as you referenced, it's off of the gross. It's not off of the net. And I think that has driven the players of that league to really market that league and to really come together, where that league, where the NBA was 15 years ago, was not in a healthy place. And they've done an excellent job of joining forces with the players to arrive at what is a seemingly at least fair, if not amicable, resolution. I hope the WNBA can get there, because it seems to me as a fan that there's never been a better time to be a fan of the WNBA. It's a really compelling product at this point. And Tristan, maybe you could touch upon this too for the listeners. a lot of these women are playing abroad or now in the unrivaled league to supplement their incomes. Sometimes in those leagues, they're actually making a good deal more money than they're making playing for the WNBA. That doesn't look good to the WNBA for me. That seems to be something that we need to solve for as well.
Yeah, I agree. Question for you though, before I move on to that topic, like when you were running a Major League Baseball team, how much transparency did you get into the financials?
So I think the reality of this is that the union tends and the players as by association tend not to believe anything the owners say regarding their revenues because there's so many ways to creatively account. And as
Correct.
you referenced earlier, there's a lot of ways to have expenses offset revenues to make it look as if they're not as profitable. And a lot of these teams have their own, whether it's their own television they have outlet or they have real estate in their local areas where they're driving money to. They feel like the players feel like it's being sheltered in every which direction. So I don't know how the owners get credibility back absent of having an independent group audit them, and they're just not willing to do that. So there's just a general lack of trust and equity between the union and the owners. And I think until that's restored, I'm not sure where the health of Major League Baseball is going to go. But that's why every time there's a collective bargaining agreement, there's such protracted negotiations, and there's really a lot of mudslinging that goes on before typically it's not until the 11th hour that they come to the table and get something done. But they are not doing it amicably and they're not doing it born out of trust and respect for one another.
Yeah, and I think another reason that fairly, the union doesn't trust owners is when a team like the Braves had to open the books. It was like, well, you guys said you were broke, and like, you guys aren't broke.
And also, Trista, it's hard to cry poverty when you're selling. The NBA they're selling for $4 to $10 billion, and Major League Baseball they're selling for more like 1.5 to 3.5 to $4 billion. It's a tough sell to I think the community at large, the fans, but also the players in the union that they're losing money.
Yeah, and that's happening in the WNBA as well. So these expansion fees are a $250 million now, and the Golden State Valkyries had, it was just their first inaugural season, and they're already worth $500 million after having an expansion fee of I think less than 250. This is the new number. So I think it was 50 million for Golden State if I'm correct. And now all of a sudden they've 10x their money for their valuation of the team based on proper management. Joe Lacob did a good job, who's also the Warriors owner, and they shared the Chase Center, and so there was some synergies there. But like, if you're getting 10x your money, even if you're doubling your money valuation wise in 1 year, you should be able to stomach having to pay out year to year where it doesn't necessarily feel like you're solid or square just based on the investment alone has made you money if you sell it.
Yeah, I think one thing to consider is these guys are highly successful billionaires by and large who own these teams. They're not used to losing money, but to your point, you can be a little cash flow negative year in and year out if you're selling for 5, 10, in some cases 25x what your initial purchase was, and you're going to do just fine.